Okay guys, today we're cutting down the monitor bezel to get it down to about 2 foot in width. Right now it's about 27 inches, so we're going to cut about 1.5 inches off each size. I'm going maybe about 1/8 of an inch smaller than that because this one side right here, I've measured it real closely and it's about 1/8 of an inch greater than that side. And since we rebuilt the cabinet, it's actually just probably 1/8 of an inch less width on the inside measurement than 2 foot. So I'm trying to get a pretty snug fit. Hopefully this will be close. We're going to use this new plastic cutter that I bought. It's by Acrylic. It's sold over at Lowe's where the acrylic is and the Lexan. And it's actually on the brand of acrylic I got, or plexiglass that I got. It recommends this cutter to cut it with, even though we use the router. I may use this for the cover for the monitor. So we have a piece that's going to go over this. We've got this all clamped down. We've got a framing square here, right on the line where we need to follow, and we have some scrap wood up underneath it supporting it. And we have measured off about 1.5 inches, maybe 1/8 of an inch more on each side. We made sure that we got it dead perfect before we clamped it down. But it's the first time I ever used this. All I know is that you score it a couple of times, and after you score it, you snap it off. So we're going to go down through here and score it, and then we'll snap it off. I think it might actually be cutting on through it because this is pretty thin. Okay guys, off camera I went ahead and snapped this. I didn't put anything to support it, I just kind of snapped it with my hand. It's just I guess maybe since this has got a slight texture to it, I'm cutting from the textured side. Might have worked better had I cut from the slick side of the plastic, but it kept grabbing in some places, and some places it would just slide right across. So I don't think I got a good cut like I probably would have on plexiglass, but it said it cut through rigid plastic, so I was going to give it a try. And I think it done the job, but I'm not sure if this edge is as pretty as I'd like it to be. Take the clamps off. It's not too bad. Not too bad. Not quite as clean as I want it, but I think if I just hit it with my sander just a hair to knock off it a tiny little place or two, I think it's actually pretty good. It's not too bad. I just haven't used that before, so it was a little awkward. But I didn't think it would make much of a mess, but it actually does make little bits of plastic where you're scoring it. You know, I forgot that it probably would be doing something like that. And if it's thicker, it'll make even more, so I'll have to vacuum this up. But let me put the flashlight on it so you can see. It's not that bad of an edge, really. There's a place or two I see it's not dead perfect. But I think I can take the sander and just barely touch it. Just make it a little cleaner of a line. Because I think where I was scoring it, there is a clean impression. I just think where I snapped it off, I think it left more from the under edge of the plastic. I think it left just a little bit or two here and there. If I just hit that with the sander just a little bit, I think it'll be perfect. So now we've got to do the other side. It looks like it's pretty uniform though. But you can tell, I mean, I am just hogging all the space, all the real estate to put that 25-inch monitor in, because this is not that large of a marquee, and it's still cutting a lot of the width off of it. The Mortal Kombats have a much wider and taller marquee than, or I keep saying marquee, bezel, than this. But we're going to flip it around, do the other side. We'll come back and show you the results in a few minutes. Okay guys, we got that first side done. We got the second side set up. I'm going to try to do this, maybe to go a little smoother since I've used the tool once. And it's probably not such a bad thing that I'm going from the textured side, because the textured side is the side that's facing out. And when you cut into it to snap off anything like this, where you're making the cut, that's going to be the cleanest looking line. When you bend it over to snap it off, the back side, if there's any little jaggies, it's going to be on the back. So I guess this is probably the best side to do the cutting on. So got it set up. We're taking exactly 1.5 inches off all the way across here. So see if we can do a little better on this one. Okay, we got one continual spiral of plastic that time, so I think that's the way it's supposed to do. I think you're supposed to dig the little hook there in a little bit and pull it along, and it takes a little bit of plastic out each time you go across. Before I was pushing more of the point, and then I started digging that in, and that's where I got the feel of it. You got to use the point right there, the hook. Let's go ahead and back it up. Looks pretty good. I'm going to slide it back up on here for a second, because where I started it there, I want to go in the opposite direction, because right where you start there, it's kind of hard to put any pressure right there at the beginning. I'm going to go that way. There it goes. And once again, it's like we got a little bit right there that we might could bump with the sander just to clean it a little bit. But to be honest, from the factory, I've seen some of these monitor shrouds or bezels have a little place there where they were either cut on something at the factory or something, and they had slight imperfection right there on the edge. So looks pretty decent though. Let's see if you guys are seeing the entire marquee there. So there's the one edge that we just cut. Here's our other edge. Didn't do too bad. There's the one we just did. Like I say, you can see right around in here, there's a little bit there where like I kind of probably scored slightly to one side and then slightly to the other, and it's nothing. It looks like, to be honest, you could take a razor knife and just barely catch that and it would just fall right off. But I think a sander would probably do it best. Just get my belt sander and touch it for a second. Not too bad though. All in all, did a pretty good job. Now we're going to try out the fit and see how it fits. Okay guys, we got real lucky with our cuts. Everything came out great. I was really pleased with it. I thought I'd be off, either a little too wide or cut it a little too small, but it actually came out great. The gap is perfect. I couldn't ask for it to be closer. But We just got to decide now how far back we want the monitor, because the monitor was sitting back as far as it would go on that platform without the neck board hitting the back panel of the cabinet. But it can be moved forward, and I mean we can move it all the way up to where this bezel will be practically touching the T-mold, but we've got to leave room for plexiglass too. I think what I'm going to do is mimic what's on the Mortal Kombats and what's on the Gauntlet Legends, and we're going to leave it's around a ½ inch of space here where you can just see the inside edge of the sides on the left and the right, and they'll leave just enough room to put the plexiglass in, and you'll have maybe a reveal of maybe around a ½ inch, I think, and we'll just see a little bit of that gray color on the inside that we painted the inside of the cabinet, and I think that looks pretty good. We may still have to cut just a little bit off the top of this bezel. There is a 3/4 inch piece of wood that goes here that makes up the speaker panel, you know, that we don't have mounted right now. So we're going to have to put that in and measure up for it, and maybe cut off maybe a 1/4 inch or so of this, maybe ½ an inch, just to make sure that it fits in there snugly up against the speaker panel. And we're still going to have to make some type of a filler strip down here on the bottom. Most games that come from the factory have a piece of metal that run across there, and they made up to where this bezel and the plexi or the glass is. And I haven't fabricated that yet, so I'm going to have to either fabricate a piece of wood or a piece of aluminum or something to go right there. But turned out really good. We got the perfect gap on the other side. It's not too tight. It fits in there with, it looks like somewhere between a 1/16 of an inch and maybe just slightly more, not quite an 1/8 of an inch, so you can slide this in and out easy. But worked out really, really good. And the little plastic cutter just took some getting used to, but I think it did a good job. On the back of the cabinet where the monitor is, if we do slide the monitor up a little bit, which we will, right there where I have this piece of wood just to keep this in place, that was just to stop, mainly to keep that from sliding out when I was putting the monitor in and out. We'll probably have to put just a little filler or a couple of cleats in right here and right here just to keep it in its final position, and I think that's about where it's at now. It looks like about 3/4 of an inch, so maybe just a piece of 3/4 inch plywood stock ripped to the thickness of this board and turned sideways on its thickness. We'll just go down in there and we can actually paint it the same color as this so it'll match, and just put it in there, and then this will probably be bolted down to the platform, and we'll probably go in with some screws with these metal brackets on the side that support the tube. Hey guys, while we got the cutter out and some scrap wood out here, we're going to go ahead and take advantage of using it to cut our plexiglass that's going to go in front of the monitor and the bezel. And we're using the bezel as a guide since we got such a perfect width cut on it. We got it lined up perfectly, used our framing square and have it clamped in place. Just going to get our bezel out of the way. And I want to put one extra clamp in over here. You may not be able to see it on camera. It's clamping this piece of wood to the table a little bit. Got everything in place. I'll take our cutter here. And see what we can do. Well, let's see. You know, this is that framing square is slightly in my way from doing this here. I think I may need to move it up. I'm going to do that off camera right quick. Okay guys, I got readjusted here. I forgot to leave myself a little bit of space there for the blade to start here. I had the framing square all the way up against the plexi, but I've already started making some passes here, and it's really I'm about all the way through it, so we'll make one small pass. Should be about all we need. I don't really think we need to make any more passes. I've made about 3. I'm going to finish back this way and upwards cut, just finish that little bit I didn't have. think that should be deep enough. We're going to see. I think what we'll do is just unclamp it. Slide a piece of plywood in, just get it right at the edge there. I'll flex down on it a little bit. Yeah, there it goes. Need to slide it on up to the edge of the table. Let me back this up. There it goes. Yeah, like it broke good and clean. Now all we have to do is trim our backing off. Okay. Yeah, we got a pretty good cut. I think that worked much better on the plexiglass than it did on the black plastic for the monitor shroud. But if you take a look, got a real good cut. If you see any funny places, that's just where the plastic is. Plastic hanging off of there. The edge is actually very nice. Actually did very good. Got a coating of plastic on both sides of this. Now we have to make sure that we cut it the right size, so be back in a second. Okay guys, got a good fit, left to right. That's what we were cutting the width. Have just enough room to wiggle it in. Looks like maybe a 1/16 of an inch at the edge. That's real good. So it fits just as good as our black shroud or monitor bezel. And now we got to figure out the exact height we need to cut for this and the bezel, because we're going to have some type of support down here to hold both of them up. And we're going to have to make sure we allow for the speaker panel, so we may have to install the speaker panel up here temporarily.